about Tao Te Ching, chapter 42, his perception. He said, before the coming of life, there's just emptiness. It's a void. If an emptiness is on the surface, it's a big void. You cannot describe it. But in this big void, and there's energy in emanation. Okay, for any energy to be in function, you need to have two polarities, like yin and yang. Okay, so he called it yin yang, yin and yang, and he called this energy Tai Chi, the primal energy. Okay, so this primal energy is functioning like a light in the void. But whatsoever object that has a psychosomatic potential to be animated into life, once this primal energy touches that object, this primal energy gets infused in. So the animation process then begins. Okay. So the combination of this primal energy together with the animation mechanism, that's called essence. Okay. It's called essence. You're animated, you're on, you're alive. Okay? And then subject to the construct of that specific psychosomatic apparatus, it begins because of the genes or genomes and the design in the genomes, they evolve. Okay? So once the animation begins, then with the veiling of the sentience, everything you can see, you can feel, you can sense, they are temporal by nature. It is like the relationship in between the mirror and the reflection. See, everything, it's because of this animation process, you are being animated alive. And whatsoever you can feel and sense is nothing but your own reflection. Okay? So, so the state of essence, that's the primordial state, the infusion of this primal energy to the body. The essence, let's call it one. In that state, there is no sense of ego. There's no ego. Okay? It's just the animation, being alive. But once the animation, once your body sentience begins to evolve and dominate, I feel, I sense, I am. That's the ego. So this one has two dimensions, this ego I. Beneath the water, prior to your senses, primal energy in animation. The temporal energy. Or this energy body we call let's call the astral body, in accord with the Hermetic terms. So anything above your senses, that is the stage of the mind, the ego mind. You see? And the nature of the ego mind is duality, discrimination. I feel, I sense, I am. So 1 plus 2 equals to 3. With the coming of the 3, there's a world. This is a Lao Tzu statement. From 0, there's 1. From the coming of 1, simultaneously there's 2. With the coming of the 2, 2 plus 1 equals to 3. So Trinity. You see? He said, if you follow the sequence of this evolution, this is exactly what makes you human. Okay? However, if you can find a way to reverse engineer yourself, this is the way to your holiness.
How do we reverse engineer?
This is why prana dynamics, this is why all the spiritual teachings, before they've been dogmatized into a religion. You see? It's not so difficult as you think it is, but I think that if you think about it, you're still in the mind. It is exactly the mind that blocks you from it. So you have to learn to take off your mind. You have to learn to release your mind. Right? You have to learn to find a way to disidentify yourself from the mind. Without fighting against it, because the mind can be the worst possible enemy you can possibly have. So release it. Release your identity with it, from it. Okay? But it's easier said than done. As I said, if this is the common denominator that which blocks people from true understanding or true seeing, then You have to, okay, pay attention to your mind. You know, with this is where the difficulty is with the advent of contemporary medical science. You know, you can go to the hospital and ask the doctor to cut off your body. Doctor, please, you know, show me my mind. You see? It's impossible. You see? The science, the medical science at best, they can show you the shape and size of your heart, you know, naked heart. They can even show you the picture of your genes. They cannot show you your mind. What is your mind? Every moment you are using it. Or no, or you are being used by it, you know, every moment. You know. But it's bizarre. People have never been trained or guided to learn to recognize it. You see? You have to learn to recognize your mind. That's the first step. This is the common first step, you know, across all spiritual teachings and religions. Even the Chinese word, my mind, if you put them into one word, it says enlightenment. The moment you can see it, enlightenment. If you put the word my mind in Chinese together, put them into one, it's called enlightenment. But this is where the joke begins. You know, a lot of people are spiritual or they're into religion for this purpose. I want to be enlightened. You know, basically, this enlightenment is just the first step. But being able to see and sense your mind, you can separate yourself. You can then walk out of the shadow, and then you become the seer. You become the observer. You know, so you'll be. It'll be an intuitive understanding, a perception, like a touch of epiphany or kisses by the angels. You don't have to say it, because then words will become redundant. You see? But it's the beginning of the true journey, like the Jai Krishnamurti said. You know, truth is the pathless land. So the first step, the most important step, he literally spent on his lifelong journey, you know, trying to convince and explain to people, you know. If you are spiritual, you know, the first step you have to achieve is to separate the observer from the observed. This is the beginning of true spirituality. But what does that mean? Walk out of the shadow of your mind. So, if you can see in the senses, once the animation process begins, you have the essence, energy, and the spirit in oneness. The essence, energy, spirit. This is the trinity of Kung Fu, right? So, energetically, to your question, actually, after the infusion of this primal energy in the body, everything is temporal. So there's the substratum. The substratum of our energetics is that you are this primal energy in animation. Once it's in animation, it's called the astral energy. Okay? And once the animation begins, because for any energy to function, you have to have two polarities, yin and yang. So there's the body energy, the passive one, that which animates the mechanism of your sensations. Okay? And then there's the active energy. It then becomes functionality of your mind. It supports and sustains the functionality of the ego mind. And to this mental energy, the ancient Chinese people had a specific term for this. They called actually, when it comes to energy, the pronunciation of energy in Chinese is called qi. But traditionally, this word is referring to body energy, because the composition of this energy is very simple. It says rice energy, okay. Food energy, your body energy. Okay. And whereas for your mind, it's also there's another character which is also pronounced qi, but it's composed by two parts only. It says no flame. It's referring to the mental energy. no flame.
Oh, like nirvana.
Yeah.
Nirvana.
And nirvana means no more fermentations. You see, energetically, what's being fermented by is your mind, your mental energy on flame. So you have to put out the flame so that you can sense the energy. And this energy is it's just one of the polarities of this astral energy in animation in you. Make sense? So the mind has flame, no flame. When you're talking, so that's why when I'm talking about mental energy, it's the mental energy without flame, without ego, without identification. And we try to confluent this mind-body energy together, in the body. And then so that we can get closer and trace it back to the source. Where's the source? At best you can trace it back to is the astral energy, or this energy for conscious presence, the light of the animated. At best, So leveraging your body sensations and together by modulating of your mental focus, well, it's possible.